If you prefer staying home and everyone around you acts like something's wrong with you, I'm about to reveal 3 neurological patterns that turn solitude into a power move 90% of people will never understand. Everyone assumes staying home means you're running from something. That's the surface read. But here's what's actually happening in your nervous system. You're not avoiding stress. You're managing a processing bandwidth most people don't even know they have. And this is where every self-help guru gets it backwards. They tell you social interaction energizes you, but they're describing a different biological system. Your dopamine regulation works on a completely separate timeline. Short bursts of social contact spike your cortisol first. The pleasure comes later, if it comes at all. Other people experience the opposite sequence. Their systems reward them instantly. Yours punishes, then evaluates. Here's why that matters more than you think. Psychologists have discovered that people with this system aren't low energy. They're high sensitivity running on delayed reward circuitry. Every conversation extracts data. Every environment demands filtering. Every obligation triggers cost-benefit analysis 3 levels deeper than normal. That's not social anxiety. That's pattern recognition on overdrive. Most people scatter their energy across dozens of shallow connections. You concentrate yours. 3 deep relationships outperform 30 surface ones in every measurable outcome. Career opportunities, emotional support, actual trust when it matters. But here's what nobody tells you. This only works if you understand one critical distinction. Miss this, and everything I just explained becomes isolation instead of strategy. Solitude builds, isolation depletes. The external behavior looks identical. The internal mechanism is opposite. One is retreat with purpose. The other is retreat from fear. Your nervous system knows the difference, even when your mind lies about it. Here's the test most people fail. After 3 days alone, do you feel sharper or duller? More capable or more anxious? Ready to engage or desperate to avoid? That answer tells you which mechanism you're running. You need controlled space because you understand something most people never learn. Context isn't separate from cognition. They're one system. A chaotic environment equals chaotic thinking, not because you're sensitive, but because you're aware of how processing actually works. This connects directly to that dopamine timeline I mentioned earlier. The different timeline means you need recovery time others don't. When other people enter a loud room, their systems adapt quickly. When you enter that same room, your system stays in analysis mode, cataloging sounds, reading micro-expressions, tracking social hierarchies, calculating conversational entry points. That's 4 parallel processing streams before you even speak. They're running one. The energy math is completely different. But here's where it becomes an advantage. People who need constant external chaos aren't more adventurous. They're outsourcing emotional regulation. You're doing it internally. That means you own your state. They're renting it from their environment. This sounds boring until you understand what it actually means. Shallow stimulation creates dopamine spikes. Deep engagement creates dopamine baselines. One is addiction. One is satisfaction. Your brain is literally structured for the second type. Forget what I said about boring. When you choose home over bars, you're not avoiding fun. You're choosing sustainable neurochemistry. 3 hours building something alone generates more baseline dopamine than 3 hours of forced conversation. Your reward system isn't broken. It's calibrated for depth over frequency. Now pay attention, because this destroys people. There's a version of staying home that isn't strength. It's avoidance wearing a sophisticated mask. Strategic withdrawal serves you. Fear-based hiding diminishes you. The behavior looks identical. The trajectory is opposite. One compounds capacity over time. One erodes it. Here's how you know which one you're doing. Ask yourself this question. Are you staying home because it builds you or because everything else terrifies you? If you're reading, creating, recovering, planning, that's strategic. If you're scrolling, numbing, avoiding, justifying, that's fear. And here's the part that hurts. Most men doing the second one tell themselves they're doing the first. The narrative feels true because it protects the ego. Your behavior reveals the truth. After a week at home, measure your capacity. Can you handle more complexity or less? Face harder truths or softer ones? That's your answer. But everything shifts when you understand this. Society celebrates men who never stop moving, always saying yes, always available, always performing energy. Most of them burn out by 35. They mistake motion for progress, activity for achievement, presence for depth. You're playing a completely different game. While they optimize for breadth, you optimize for depth. While they collect experiences, you extract meaning. While they perform energy, you preserve it. That's not antisocial. That's an asymmetric advantage. The game is long-term cognitive architecture versus short-term social validation. Think about the men you actually respect. Not the ones you're supposed to admire, but the ones you genuinely respect. They're usually not the loudest in the room. They're the most considered. They don't react. They respond. That gap requires space most people never create. You're creating that space. Here's what changes when you understand your actual design. You stop apologizing. Someone asks why you didn't come to the party. Before, you said, "Sorry, I was just tired." Now you say, "I had other priorities." No explanation, no defense, no guilt. Weak boundaries invite pressure. Strong boundaries create respect. Most men who prefer staying home telegraph insecurity about it. They over-explain. They apologize. They justify. That's what makes people question it. The moment you justify your choices to people who don't understand them, you've already lost. When you operate from preference instead of fear, people feel the difference. It's in your tone, your certainty, your lack of need for their approval. That shift changes everything, and that's when you start realizing this. You're not broken for preferring home. You're not missing out by choosing solitude. You're not weak for needing environmental control. Those are features of a different operating system. Now you know why all the get out more advice never worked. It wasn't designed for your processing system. You're not antisocial. You're selectively social. You're not avoiding life. You're engaging it differently. And if understanding this made you feel a little less alone and a little more seen, then comment on the part that resonated with you most. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you can stay connected as we dive deeper into the psychology that explains not just people, but you.